Hey, what's up guys, Tech9 here and I'm back again with a brand new video. Before I begin, first of all, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, make sure you consider subscribing. But basically what I want to speak on is the Samsung Galaxy S25 now that it's been out for a little bit over 8 months, which basically essentially means that we're running this phone towards its end of its yearly cycle, meaning the S26 will replace this phone sooner than later. So with that being said, I have two issues with this device that make me not want to use it as a personal phone, and these issues are actually kind of major in my personal opinion. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about the design, which did get slandered a lot when this phone first came out, and I understand that Samsung have used in the past with slight changes here and there. So basically this phone does have a matte finish to it, and to be honest with you, this blue color is stellar. I really like it. I wish more phones have this kind of color. On the right hand side you do have aluminum frame, and also you have your power, volume up and down, which are very clicky, very tactile, and it follows a similar theme design as far as a boxy design that we've seen in the S24, which again, it's not really a major change from the S24 to the S25 as far as design. Now, of course, on the bottom you have your speaker USB-C that is only capable of 25 watt of fast charging, more on that later, your SIM tool, as well as a microphone on the bottom. And if we notice on the back, you do get a triple camera setup, with the main design change here from the previous generation are these black rings, which I don't know what kind of purpose they serve, but they're there. So basically, 8 months later, it still is, obviously design is not going to change, but yeah, it still is the kind of, you can say boring, but the same design that we're used to from Samsung. And it still does have an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, so anything that splashes or even dunking it in water for 30 minutes up to 1.5 meters, this phone theoretically should be fine. I still don't recommend that for phones anyway, so that's also something to notice. Now overall, I know some people may think of this design as boring, which again, I understand. Sometimes a refreshing design is what people ask for when it comes to a new phone, but to be honest with you, I'm fine with the design. It doesn't bother me, so that's my opinion on it. Now I want to switch the conversation and talk a little bit about the display of the Galaxy S25, and this is one of the things that it is an $800 phone, but the display is a 6.2 inch 2340 by 1080p. It is an AMOLED display that does support HDR10+. It also has 2600 peak brightness and 120 Hz of refresh rate that is adaptive. Now the display and the bezels on here are noticeably thin, so that's also something to give a thumbs up to Samsung. And we know Samsung knows how to make a display. They do not mess up displays. I can't see them doing that, especially when it comes to quote unquote, this is their flagship, their highest end model. So the S25 does have a 1080p AMOLED display, and to be honest with you, I know some people are like, well, if it's $800, why can't we get like a 2K display or something crazy like that? To me personally, a 1080p AMOLED display, even with this price point, is good, especially since the quality is really nice. 2600 nits of peak brightness is also lovely. So anything that you would do on this display, I don't really think that you're going to have an issue with, especially when it comes to watching videos, browsing the web, going through social media, playing games. Basically, taking advantage of this display is going to be nice. Now, it is a little bit on the smaller size, but that's why they have the Galaxy S25 Plus. Now, I feel like the standard nowadays should be like around 6.7 inches, regardless of whether it's a Plus model or a regular model. So hopefully in the next generation, we see like a standard, just a 6.7 inch display. And I wouldn't mind if they took off the S25 Plus out of the equation. So the next conversation that I do want to have is within the camera conversation. And this phone does have a proven good quality camera. And so it does have a triple camera setup, with your main sensor being a 50 megapixel f1.8 aperture and a 10 megapixel telephoto sensor at f2.4 and a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide 120 degrees. So it also supports optical image stabilization for the main sensor, optical image stabilization for the telephoto sensor, and it does have what they call super steady video for your ultra wide. And it does also have 8K at 30 frames per second video recording, but you better have a lot of storage for that. You also can shoot 4K at 30 or 60, or even go as far as 1080p at up to 240 frames per second, and it does have support for 10-bit HDR and HDR10 plus video. So that's all nice. The front-facing camera is a 12 megapixel f2.2 and a 4K 30 or 60 frames per second video recording. Now, it does take pictures really quick, simple, nice camera app, and as far as image quality goes, it's just what you would expect from your standard flagship. The image is almost complete. The ultra wide angle on here is also nice. It's not as high quality as a main sensor camera, but that's fine. So typical Samsung camera quality. It does slightly oversaturate, but the images that come out of this phone are fantastic and they are up to par as far as quality. So that's also something to note. And this phone is capable of zooming in from your 1x to 2x to 3x to 10x, even up to 30 times zoom. Now it is digital, so the quality is going to be trash, but you can use the pictures if you want to, I guess. Now the selfie camera on here is sharp, vivid, and it looks really nice. As far as video, I want you to watch the sample video and tell me your opinion on it.
Hey, what's up guys, Tech Time here, and this is a video test of the Samsung Galaxy S25. And it does a fantastic job in stabilization from what I see in the viewfinder, and even balancing colors. And they're a little bit saturated, which I think will appeal a lot of people, including myself, so it does look really good on the viewfinder. And you can simultaneously switch between your main sensor and your ultra wide. And you can even take it a step further by going the zoom route, and you can take it up to 12x, which obviously would ruin image quality, but you can if you want to. Now another thing that you can do, switch to the front-facing camera while recording video, and the front-facing camera on here also looks excellent. So definitely flagship quality. Now, is it worth $800 right now? Kinda, but there's a lot of competition.
So let's speak on the performance of this device. And honestly, this is one of the categories that I have an issue with this phone, but give me a moment, let me explain. So without a doubt, this phone does have the best Android chipset out right now, which is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite processor. Combine that with the Adreno 830 GPU, as well as standard 128GB of storage and a 12 gigabytes of RAM. So what I want to say is this: it also has an in-display fingerprint that is quick and fair enough, but everything that you would do on this phone as far as your daily tasks, this phone can handle it like a boss and it will breeze through it. So things like the lighter tasks, like launching your phone app, launching your messaging app, launching your browser, you're launching your camera, and even multitasking thanks to that 12 gigs of RAM is a breeze on this device, and I don't have an issue with that. And I even went as far as doing a Geekbench, a synthetic benchmark, which, I mean, obviously, you don't need to. This is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. But just for the hell of it, I did it. And so these scores that I got are up to par: 2643 single core, 9208 multi-core. And so the basic light tests on this phone are good. So you can scroll through your articles, your social media, things like that. Where it becomes an issue and it's a little bit frustrating is the heating issue. So this phone does not have a quality thermal system. And it does have thermal throttling when you launch heavy demanding apps that will require it to push the GPU and the CPU. Now, I guess it's because it's thin and small. It does not live up to par. And I also have an issue with the battery life and the charging solution. So it's a 4000 milliamp hour battery. And here's why I have an issue with that. So you look at something like, let's say, the Galaxy A36, a 5000 milliamp hour battery with 45 watt of fast charging speeds. Whereas the S25 has a limit on 25 watt of charging speeds, which is 20 watts less than a $400 Samsung device. Think about that. And the standard for a lot of these Samsung phones have been 5000 milliamp hour batteries in their sort of A lineup of phones. Even as far as the Galaxy A16, which is $200, has a 5000 milliamp hour battery. So that's something that's a little bit frustrating in my opinion. Now, yeah, I guess maybe they sacrificed the battery life for wireless charging, but 4000 milliamp hour battery, it just doesn't cut it for my personal use. And that's why I can't really use this phone as my personal device. So, with that being said, Here's what I want from you. I want to hear your thoughts on the Galaxy S25 and what's your wish list for the S26 that's going to be launching out in about 4 months or so. So leave it in the comments below. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate you all for staying tuned and watching the video all the way if you have. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, don't forget, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.